It is finally August and the time for me to update my Endowus portfolio since my last update was in June. But in today's video focus, I just want to talk about another topic because a lot of people have asked me about the recent Amundi funds. Now, if you haven't heard of the Amundi fund news, basically Endowus is asking their users whether they want to switch from the current Lion Global Infinity portfolio to a Amundi Prime fund, because Endowus feels that the Amundi funds are priced much lower and more cost effective for its customers compared to the current Lion Global Infinity Unit Trust. And if you are an existing customer with Endowus, most likely you have received an email asking whether you want to switch over to it or not, and therefore you are pondering whether this is a good decision. But I believe it mostly affects people with the cash and SRS portfolio, because right now Amundi funds are not eligible for CPF investing yet. If we just look at the expense ratio comparing Lion Global Infinity versus Amundi Prime US Fund, then you will see that the Amundi Prime US Fund is much cheaper at 0.05% expense ratio per annum, whereas the Lion Global Infinity US 500 actually charges 0.34% after all the trailer fees rebate. So it's actually quite a stark difference, right? 0.05 versus 0.34. I think it's a no-brainer which one is cheaper. And Endowus has always focused on this thing that cost matters, because cost is the only thing that you can guarantee, whereas your returns are not guaranteed. So if you can actually secure a fund with a cheaper cost, then I think everyone should just go for it, right? But what are the pros and cons of it? Well, at least you can be secure that Amundi is currently the largest asset manager in Europe, and currently the Amundi funds are exclusive to Endowus platform only, so you cannot find this in other digital robo-advisors. And like I mentioned earlier, Amundi is not approved for CPF investing yet. It's only for those cash and SRS investments with Endowus. So they are trying to replace your Lion Global with Amundi. But if you look at the recent 1M65 video with Endowus, Mr. Lu actually interviewed Sam Rhee, and Sam Rhee said that the Amundi funds would likely be available to CPF investors from September onwards. So finger crossed, if I get the chance to switch to the Amundi funds, I will definitely do so, because the cost wise is really no fight, right? Lion Global Infinity 0.34%, Amundi Prime US is 0.05%. I will do it. But let's talk about the possible outcomes, right? Because there are actually two outcomes that can branch out from this. Let's say if you are in a rising ascending market and you actually need to sell away your Lion Global Infinity funds, that means you are selling at a low and buying at a high later, because your Amundi funds will have been priced much more expensive due to the rising market environment. But what if you are in a declining market? Then most likely you will have sold off at a higher value, and then with the market decline, you're buying back the Amundi funds at a lower value. So the thing is, you can't really control the market, but at least you can control the fees, control the cost. So that is what I will do. Immediately when Amundi funds are available for CPF, I'll just switch it over. Of course, that will be what I'm doing. I'm not telling you that this is the best for you, because that is financial advice and I'm not allowed to give that. And anyway, this video is not sponsored by Endowus, right? It's actually sponsored by Webull, but more about them later. I know you folks are tired of seeing Webull ads, because you are smart people. You have gotten your free Apple shares and free Microsoft shares since the last few months. But you know, there are still some people who are clueless and haven't got their free stocks from Webull yet. So this month, Webull is actually offering you $100 worth of Google shares once you have deposited $1,965 and make 6 buy trades. And in addition, you get $8.88 worth of Meta shares for the current promotional add-on offer. The other condition is that each buy trade has to be at least 100 USD, and the condition is that you have to hold your $1,965 for at least 30 days until the stock voucher is credited. But you may ask, why such a funny number, $1,965? It is to signify Singapore's years of independence since 1965. Happy National Day, and as a channel with SG in its name, very proud to be a Singaporean, so I hope that this $100 worth of Google shares can make your day better. And that is so we can be stronger. Majula. So with that, let's go on to my August update of my Endowus, CPF and SRS portfolios. Let's go. Alright folks, welcome to my August 2022 Endowus update. So from here you can see that my investment value currently is around 37,000 Singapore dollars, and my portfolio has finally turned positive. You know, right, in my Endowus June update it was negative, but now it has returned above the water. So right now it's an unrealized gain of $1,300 with a percentage gain of 3.7%. And if we scroll down and look at the investment value, let's just look at YTD year to date. You can see that this year has been one of the most volatile years in history because we are suffering from a bear market, especially in the first half of the year. And you can see this massive drop, right? It was actually happening in the early part of June. Like after June, it just kept crashing until it came to a bottom of 16 June. So I believe that was when the market actually flipped. Although it may be a bear market rally, but so far the rally has been sustaining other than the last few days where the market has been in quite red. So if you look at my goals, I only have two portfolio goals. One is a CPF portfolio. This is invested in the S&P 500 index. The next is the SRS Portfolio, which is invested in the dimensional funds. And right now, the investment value of my CPF portfolio is $24,300 with an unrealized gain of $395, and that is a 1.65% gain. And then for my SRS dimensional portfolio, the current investment value is $13,300 with an unrealized loss of $696, which is a 5% percentage loss. But of course, I have stopped adding money into the SRS portfolio because I have other better uses for SRS. Meanwhile, my CPF portfolio is still going on, right? Every month, our dollar cost average $1,000, which I will talk about it later. But if we want to go on the exact performance, right? Each portfolio, how is the performance doing for my CPF portfolio? Here it is, right? If we look at just YTD, it will track the S&P 500 index, okay? And if we just look at the time weighted return, currently the YTD is around negative 7.37%, okay? I think the S&P right now is around negative 11 to 12%. So because of dollar cost average, it kind of captures the high and the lows of the market point. So with dollar cost average, it kind of takes the mental aspect or the emotional aspect out of it, right? Because you won't panic when the market is crashing because you know that you have already secured your orders automatically, even though you see this big drop from early June, okay? But right now, suddenly the market flip, it can turn positive one. And so far, we have been enjoying quite a positive green market for the last month. But I don't know about the rest of August. Maybe it may be a bear market rally and market may correct itself. But at least my CPF portfolio is finally back and positive, so that is a good sign. And then if you look at my SRS dimensional portfolio, here it is. Investment value 13.3K, unrealized loss $700. If we just look at the YTD return, here is the YTD return because I have not added any funds after I stopped investing in January, right? So my last contribution was in January, late January at $425. And then it has just been crashing down, right? Because like after January, we have been in a continuous bear market or correction territory, like until June, okay? This is the massive drop in June that I talk about. You can see that it's like a really steep drop from the second quarter of this year since early April. Like second quarter of 2022 is such a horrible quarter. There are almost like no green days in the market, you know. Everything is just keep crashing down until the middle of June. Then suddenly we see a little bit of optimism for the last few months. So we really cannot time the market. You can see that even though I have not contributed since January, the YTD return is still a net negative. Okay, then I was talking about my dollar cost average strategy last week, right? So you can see this is really the proof. I do dollar cost average every month on the first of the calendar day in Endowus CPF portfolio. Okay, and that is buying my CPF S&P 500 Lion Global Infinity US 500 Stock Index Fund. And because Endowus will take some processing time after the first calendar day, because unit trust really take a longer time compared to your normal ETFs where you can buy instantly. So don't blame Endowus for that because I think there are some checks that they need to do and verify the source of the funds. And if you have been using Endowus for some time, you'll be familiar with this cashback, okay? Last time it's called trailer fee rebate, whereby Endowus will actually return a certain portion of their fees back to you so that they can assure you will be charged the lowest fees among all the other digital or robo-advisors. So my last cashback received in June was $10.78 and my previous cashback received was around $9, right? Next up, if you're curious on what I actually invest, the exact unit trust that I invest in, I do talk about it previously. In my S&P 500, I do invest in Lion Global Infinity US 500 Stock Index Fund. Currently, the fund level fees after the cashback is around 0.34%. Not exactly cheap or expensive, but it's currently the most affordable option right now for CPF. And of course, I know that there are cheaper funds in Vanguard ETFs or even Ireland domiciled funds like your CSPX. All these are charging expense ratio of less than 0.1%. But really with CPF not approved for a lot of funds, then I think Lion Global Infinity US 500 right now is still the best fund for S&P 500. Of course, with the introduction of Amundi Prime US funds, then that may change the whole equation because they are only charging 0.05% per annum as the expense ratio. And then for my dimensional portfolio, I only invested in Dimensional Global Core Equity Fund. That itself is already a very cheap fund with SRS, but Amundi is actually much cheaper than this, right? So you compare Dimensional with Amundi, suddenly Amundi looks really attractive compared to Dimensional. But of course, that is not applicable to me anymore because I don't invest my SRS funds with Endowus anymore. So in future, in a bull market run, I may consider to sell off my Dimensional Global Core Equity Fund. Now, if you want to calculate how much Endowus is charging you in excess fees, you have to add this net expense ratio of 0.34%. And also the platform fees, right? For FundSmart, that means you customize the single fund portfolio like myself, you'll be charged a 0.3% platform fee every year. So if you add my 0.34% of expense ratio with the 0.3% FundSmart fees per year, my total expense ratio will be 0.64%. Of course, if you are using the core portfolios, then you are charged like 0.4%, but you achieve a certain level of diversification. So that's where the value is. The additional 0.1% Endowus will help you do the portfolio rebalancing. And of course, if you haven't signed up for Endowus yet, you can use my referral link down below because you get $20 worth of excess fee that can help you offset some of these fees that you may think is too expensive. With that, if you have enjoyed my Endowus portfolio sharing for its transparency and all the details I've shared, do comment a thank you. I'll really appreciate it, and let's get back to the video. Alright folks, welcome back. So you can see that my Endowus portfolios has gone back to the positive zone, although my SRS is still slightly in the red, but I'm certain that in the long run, the market will continue to go up because companies will continue to innovate and serve its customers. I will still continue to dollar cost average 1,000 monthly into my Endowus CPF portfolio, mainly invested in the S&P 500. And that has not changed for more than a year. So I'm very consistent with this dollar cost average investing strategy method. So if you want to see like my previous 2 months, how have my Endowus portfolio performed, in fact it went into a negative zone, then you can look at this video over here where I detail out my June portfolio performance.